Why did he choose train drivers over Britain's vulnerable pensioners?
It's no secret that emotions are running high in the UK, particularly among Labour leaders. It seems that every time they go out in public, they experience some kind of retaliation. Keir Starmer recently had an earful when visiting the Doncaster races, and we now have another example.
Has made a choice. He has chosen to take the winter fuel allowance away from low-income pensioners and give that money to certain unionised workforces in inflation-busting pay rises. So can I just ask the Prime Minister, why did he choose train drivers over Britain's vulnerable pensioners?
In this video, a Labour MP encounters a hostile audience in a British bar, and the locals don't hold back their displeasure. We're seeing a trend here, with the people expressing their discontent loudly and clearly. But before we get into this newest event, remember to like the video and subscribe to our expanding community.
Not welcome! Traitor! Guys, that's enough!
The British people seem to be sending a clear message that certain politicians are not welcome in certain regions. In the video, a Labour MP enters a bar only to be greeted with boos and jeers by the audience. As the MP sought to sit down with their family for a calm supper, pub-goers expressed their views. They expressed dissatisfaction with Labour policy, notably the use of apartments to house migrants and cutbacks to the winter heating allowance. There were screams of "Rushmore people first" and charges of treason.
Mr. Speaker, this government was elected to clear up the mess left by the party opposition and to bring about the change that the country desperately needs. Our first job was to audit the books, and what we found was a £22 billion black hole. Well, it's no good them complaining. Richard Hughes, the chair of the OBR, was very clear. He described it as one of the largest overspends against forecast outside of the pandemic. His words. So we've had to take tough decisions.
The tension in the room was evident as the MP received a volley of verbal abuse. Despite the abuse, the MP stayed collected and proceeded to move towards their table. But the townspeople sent a clear message. They were not welcome.
Rushmore people first!
Following the event, the MP issued a statement expressing displeasure. They said that although they are always willing to address critical problems, this kind of behavior does nothing to help the discourse forward. It is worth mentioning that the MP made it clear that they would not be intimidated even when confronted with such abuse in public. This event comes after the recent debate over the plan to lodge asylum seekers in a development in the MP's seat. Locals are outraged by plans to relocate 350 asylum seekers into apartments in Farnborough, and the MP is caught in the thick of the controversy. According to the local council papers, the decision was taken in May, and asylum seekers were transferred by mid-July. To make things worse, the reduction in the winter fuel allotment has added fuel to the flames. Many people are concerned that the modifications may leave retirees out in the cold come winter. The MP has previously supported the programme, arguing that the government needed top priority resources for people in most need, especially given the country's financial woes. However, this answer did not seem to appease their supporters.
Labour MPs are really anxious and very unhappy about this. It's becoming a test of the Prime Minister and the Chancellor's authority. At Prime Minister's questions yesterday, Rishi Sunak used the contrast between the cut for 10 million pensioners and the extra money for relatively well-paid train drivers as his main line of attack against Keir Starmer. Now, originally, there wasn't going to be a specific vote in the Commons about this, but under pressure from the Tories, and frankly, in order to publicly shackle their own backbenchers to this unpopular hard decisions measure, there will now be a vote on the pensioners' cut on Tuesday. A clutch of Labour MPs have signed a motion begging the government to think again. So the politics of this are getting very interesting indeed. And our political correspondent, Aggie...
The public's response to Labour parliamentarians in recent days demonstrates the widening gap between the government and its voters. People are experiencing the effects of numerous policies, and they aren't hesitant about telling their lawmakers how they feel. Whether it's fury over immigration policy or irritation with budget cutbacks, the public is expressing its concerns in very clear ways. But it's not just about policy. There is also a feeling that politicians, especially those in the Labour Party, are losing touch with the daily problems of the people they serve. These public conflicts seem to represent a larger issue, a mismatch between Westminster's choices and regular people's experiences on the ground. Let's pay attention to the larger context here. We've seen similar events in the past, with politicians from both parties being called out in public. Citizens are increasingly confronting their leaders in real time, frequently with the assistance of social media, which amplifies these moments. Whether it's a demonstration or a heated debate, individuals are taking advantage of any chance to express themselves.
Aggie, the first and most obvious question is there going to be a big rebellion?
Well, it's actually not a very simple answer. So when I started speaking to people about this, it sounded like they felt they had to rebel on this. As you mentioned there, lots of Labour MPs are seriously unhappy about this.
Their postbags are full of protests.
Well, exactly, yeah. And I think that is a big part of it. They are getting so many messages from really concerned constituents. But you'll remember, because we talked about it a lot on the show, that just before summer recess, there was this vote on the 2-child limit cap.
The Labour Party has a difficult challenge. Public anger is rising, and these occurrences demonstrate that they are facing a credibility issue. People want answers and their concerns addressed, especially when it comes to immigration, financial assistance for disadvantaged people, and larger economic policies. It will be fascinating to observe how Labour MPs react to this surge of popular outrage in the coming months. Will they interact more with their people to address these concerns directly? Or will these confrontations continue to take place in bars, on the streets, and other public places? We'd like to hear your opinions on this issue. Is the rising antagonism against Labour MPs justifiable? Or does it reflect deeper problems with politics in general? Please let us know in the comments section below.
The SNP put forward an amendment and 7 Labour MPs voted with the SNP and they were immediately stripped of the whip. And so because of that precedent and because there is a significant whipping operation underway and people are feeling, Labour MPs who are unhappy are really feeling the strength of that whipping operation, many of them feel if they were to vote against the government, they would be stripped of the whip. And I was in Parliament this afternoon and I saw one Labour MP literally begging another Labour MP not to even abstain because they said, if you abstain, you still might lose the whip. So people are seriously worried.
If you haven't already, please be sure to like this video and subscribe for more updates on what's going on in the UK. This is certainly an ongoing topic, so stay tuned for updates as the story progresses. Thank you for watching and be careful.